Come learn about genetic drift and how small populations can have big evolutionary changes using an example from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, starting now. Hello, my name is Mohammed Noor. I'm a biology professor at Duke University, and I'm an occasional science consultant for the Star Trek universe. I'm very excited to talk with you today about genetic drift. These are random changes in the abundance of genetic variants in natural populations. Now, this is an evolutionary force that can sometimes even be stronger than natural selection in small populations. And we're going to talk about this today in the context of a really fun Deep Space Nine episode. So let's get started. The episode for this time is called Children of Time. In this episode, a spaceship, well, not this one, comes upon this curious planet. When they go to investigate, something goes wrong, and the ship then gets stuck in orbit. And the crew finds out that due to some sort of time travel accident, the 8,000 people on the planet are actually descendants of 48 people on the ship, and they've been stuck on the planet for 200 years. So we meet lots of descendants of Miles O'Brien and Jadzia Dax and others. So I want to use this example to introduce the concept of genetic drift. And I want to discuss what happens to genetic variation in small populations over time. Now, we tend to think of evolution as involving natural selection, which I discussed in last month's video, but random processes can sometimes play a really big role too. Let me illustrate this with a fictional example. Imagine there's a population of bugs that have two different colors, either red or purple. And let's say the color is genetic, and let's say that bugs produce clone offspring with the same gene variants and the same colors as their parents. So let's start with a population that's half red and half purple like this. We can look at the colors or the gene variants, and they tell us the same thing, 50% red. Now, if every bug produces one offspring, then the fraction doesn't change. But random events do happen. Just by chance, some may not reproduce, like this red one, and some, like this purple one, may have more than one offspring. So the overall change in fraction red may not be huge. So in the next generation, you're still close to 50% red, but it's not exactly that. That random change in abundance of a gene variant or of the trait that it controls is called genetic drift. Now note, genetic drift doesn't happen to an individual, but it's a change in the composition of a population. And these changes compound over time. So this here is a line chart showing the fraction red over time. We see the original increase in fraction red in generation 1, but it might then randomly get less abundant in later generations. But what is the long-term effect of genetic drift? Well, it will always lead to variation being lost. In this example, we see the red variant is totally gone by generation 75 or so. And since it's a random process, it won't always be the red variant that gets lost. If we start over, sometimes the red variant actually gets to 100% and it's the purple one that gets lost. But eventually, one or the other variant is always lost. So let me use an analogy. Think of a kid on a balance beam. And let's say that we flip a coin repeatedly, and he steps left every time we get heads, and he steps right every time we get tails. So it's random which way he steps next, another coin flip each time. And where he is on the balance beam is like the fraction of bugs that are red in the population. So if you get 3 heads and 1 tail, then red might be a little bit rarer. But if you keep on flipping the coin, eventually the kid will fall off one or the other end, just like how eventually all the bugs will be red or all will be purple. If there are no purple bugs left, then the offspring will be forever red, since color was genetic. That is the long-term outcome of genetic drift. Variation gets lost. Another aspect I want to discuss is how the number of individuals in a population affects the strength of genetic drift. So we had 74 bugs previously, but what if there were just 4? Well, with 4, if a red one, just by chance, had no kids, and a purple one had 2, the population goes from 50% red to 25% red. That's a much bigger change. You get bigger random changes in proportion every generation in smaller populations. That's the same as saying genetic drift is stronger in smaller populations. So back to the balance beam kid, you can think of him taking big steps when the population is really small. He'll still fall off one side eventually, but it'll happen faster. That's what happens with genetic drift. Now, I've been talking about populations that maintain the same overall number of bugs, but sometimes a small number of individuals start a new large population. That is called a founder event. And the new population may be very different because of the strong genetic drift in the first few generations when the population size is still really small. So this actually happened with humans on the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. Around 1800 or so, a French immigrant to the island happened to carry the gene variant that causes Huntington's disease. And because of that random event, that disease is 10 times more common in Europeans on that island than in Europe. That's genetic drift in action. So back to this Trek episode, we had a founder event where 48 people from the spaceship seeded a population of 8,000 people on the planet. We hear there are lots of people named Molly, for example, because Miles O'Brien has many descendants. Now, let me toss out something. We know O'Brien is Irish. Irish people are more likely to carry the genetic risk factor for Tay-Sachs disease than other Europeans. So, if Miles O'Brien is a carrier for this disease, we could find that Tay-Sachs is much more common on this planet than it is back on Earth or on Deep Space Nine. That would be an outcome of genetic drift from a founder event on this planet. So I will note that the term genetic drift does come up in some other episodes of Star Trek a few times, but unfortunately it was used incorrectly. So as one example, Dr. Bashir looks at DNA from one individual and says, quote, "There's a genetic drift." No. Again, genetic drift is something that happens to populations, not within an individual. We forgive you. But it's still cool that this term describing an important evolutionary force showed up in the Star Trek franchise. Had you heard of genetic drift before? And what do you think of the possible effects of genetic drift on the inhabitants of this planet? Let us know in the comments, and thank you for tuning in to BioTrekkie Explains. See you next time.